Three instantly powerful steps that can skyrocket your IELTS writing task 2 score. I'm talking about jumping from band 5 to band 7, 8, or 9. And I'm not kidding. If you stick with me till the end, you'll literally understand IELTS writing better than 90% of test takers. Let's go. Alright, first step, question analysis using my 5-step framework. If you miss this part, you're basically writing blind. And that's exactly why most people never get above band 5 or 5.5. First, find the keywords. The important words that help you understand the prompt. These are your guideposts. Next, identify the main topic. Every IELTS question has one. Maybe it's about social issues, education, health, the environment, etc. You need to know the core topic before you can plan your essay. Now find the focus, a group of people or things that the prompt focuses on. This is what narrows down your topic. Like if the topic is education, the focus might be university students. Now you're not talking about education in general, just this group. Step 4, identify the issue. What exactly is being debated here, or what exactly is the problem? For example, should university students study only their main subjects or take general courses too? That's the issue. And finally, step 5, identify the parts of the question. For example, if the question says discuss both views and give your own opinion, that means you've got 3 parts to cover: view 1, view 2, and your own opinion. Now let me show you some real examples. So let's start with the first example. Some people believe that when a country is already rich, any additional increase in economic wealth does not make its citizens happier. To what extent do you agree or disagree? First, we need to identify the keywords here. The first one is some experts. This is important because if the question says some experts or some people, and we write simply experts or people, we've overgeneralized, which can lower our score. The next keyword here is already rich, which makes it clear that we're not talking about any country, and definitely not a poor country. We're talking about a country that is already rich. The next phrase, key phrase, is additional increase in economic wealth. And what kind of increase are we talking about? Economic one. And then notice the phrase does not make its citizens happier. So the adjective happier is comparative, which implies that the citizens of this country are already happy to some extent at least. So the question is essentially asking whether giving them even more economic wealth would make them any happier. Now that we've identified the keywords, the next step is to find the general topic. Here, we're obviously talking about money and happiness. Next, we identify the focus of this question. The focus is on a rich country. So, as I always say, the focus is the part of the prompt that narrows the topic down. In this case, it narrows money and happiness down to a rich country and its citizens. Then we identify the issue. What about this rich country and its citizen? What is the issue here? The issue is that an additional increase in economic wealth does not make the citizens of a rich country happier. And finally, we have to identify the parts of this question, how many parts this question has. And it only has one part. We need to give our opinion to what extent we agree or disagree, and that's it. Now, the next example, many people believe that professionals, such as doctors and engineers, should be required to work in the country where they did their training. Others believe that they should be free to work in another country if they wish. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So the first step is to identify the keywords, and the question begins with some people, and then professionals. So the prompt also gives two examples here, doctors and engineers. Sometimes IELTS test writers include examples like these because they know that lower level candidates might not be completely familiar with certain words. So they add examples to make the meaning clear. Then we have should be required, which means it should be mandatory for them. But mandatory to do what? To work in the country where they did their training. That's a key phrase. Now, here's where many candidates go wrong. They often assume this means working in their home country, but that's not what the question says. It says the country where they did their training, where they were trained. For example, someone might have been born in Egypt but studied in the US. According to this prompt, they would be required to work in the US because that's where they were trained, not necessarily their home country. The second part says that others believe that they should be free. They should be free to work in another country if they wish. That's another key phrase, if they wish. Now we have to identify the topic, and the topic is about work. The focus, obviously, we're talking about professionals. The question is zooming in on professionals. So what about these professionals? What is the issue here? The debate is that whether professionals should be required to work where they were trained or be free to work wherever they want. And finally, this question has three parts. We have to discuss the first view, we have to discuss the second view, and give our own opinion. So the next question reads, it is common that in many companies, people of different ages work together in the same team. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? The keywords are, again, in many companies, showing that this is a trend, people of different ages, and working together in the same team. The topic is, again, we're talking about work, so the topic is work. The focus is people of different ages. Obviously, people here means employees of different ages. The question narrows the topic of work down to this specific issue, people of different ages working together in the same team. Now, so what is the issue here? The issue is whether having people of different ages in the same team has more advantages or more disadvantages. This question has three parts. So you have to discuss the advantages, you have to discuss the disadvantages, and you have to give your own opinion whether you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So now the next question. In many countries, not enough students are choosing to study science at university. What are the causes of this? What effects does it have on society? Again, in many countries. And that shows that this is a trend. The key point here is not enough students study science and at university. Notice that it says university, not school. That's important. The level we're talking about is important. So obviously we're talking about studying university, so the general topic is education. And the focus is on university students. We're zooming in on university students. We're not talking about pupils, for example. So what about these university students? What's the issue? The issue is that not enough university students are choosing to study science. And this question has two parts: the causes of this problem and the effects it has on society. And now the final example. In many countries nowadays, traditional costumes are being lost. Why is this happening? How can schools and parents help to keep them alive? The keywords are in many countries, many traditional costumes are being lost, which again shows that this is becoming a trend. The topic is culture and costumes, and the focus is traditional costumes. The issue is that traditional costumes are disappearing in many countries today. Why is that happening, and how can parents and schools keep them alive, help keep them alive? So, although there are two questions here, this prompt actually has three parts because the second question has two components itself. The first question asks, why is this happening? So you have to talk about the causes. And then the second question says, how can schools help to keep them alive? Actions schools can take. And then how can parents help keep them alive? Actions that parents can take. So we have three parts in total. And trust me, if you miss even one of these parts, your score drops instantly. So stay with me because we're about to move on to the next step, and it's a total game changer. Okay, step 2, planning. And I'm not talking about wasting time. I'm talking about a power plan using my proven method that separates band 5 writers from band 8 and 9 legends. If you plan the right way, you'll stop wasting time thinking about what to write next during the writing stage. Plus, it will also help you avoid confusion, adds clarity, and boosts your score significantly. Here's how it works. You've already analyzed the question and know how many parts it has and you should cover. Now, decide how many body paragraphs you need and what each one will talk about. For example, if it's a discuss both views question, you will have 2 body paragraphs, one for each view, and your opinion goes in the introduction and conclusion. Now, for each body paragraph, you'll write a topic sentence, a short, clear idea that makes it clear what that paragraph talks about, 2 main ideas, and explanation and support for each of those main ideas. Now, let me show you an example. Now let's look at this question. Like I said earlier, the first step is always to analyze the question. In the future, all cars, buses, trucks will be driverless. The only people traveling inside these vehicles will be passengers. Do you think the advantages of driverless vehicles outweigh the disadvantages? So the keywords are all cars, buses, and trucks, driverless, and passengers. The only people will be passengers. So we're talking about transportation, obviously, and the focus is on driverless vehicles. And the issue is whether making all cars, buses, and trucks driverless will have more advantages or more disadvantages. And this question has 3 parts. We have to discuss the advantages, the disadvantages, and give our own opinion whether we believe the disadvantages outweigh the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Now let's plan it. We need 2 body paragraphs, and we'll give our opinion in the introduction and conclusion. So in body paragraph 1, we talk about the advantages. In body paragraph 2, we talk about the disadvantages. So for the first body paragraph, we need 2 main ideas. Here, we're talking about advantages in this body paragraph, so our main ideas will be 2 advantages. So let's brainstorm 2 main ideas, 2 advantages. Fewer accidents and accessibility for the elderly and disabled. These are my main ideas. Now, for each main idea, we'll brainstorm supporting explanations and examples. For the first one, we can say that driverless vehicles use AI technology, which eliminates human errors such as drunk driving or distracted driving. Since human errors is the main cause of road accidents, this technology would generally reduce accidents. And remember, in the planning stage, we do not write full sentences. We only use keywords to save time. So, to support my second main idea, I can say that we can explain that since these vehicles don't require a human driver, the elderly and disabled could travel independently. They wouldn't have to rely on anyone else to drive them. And then we write a topic sentence for the paragraph based on our main ideas. We need something short and concise. So I can write something like this. Driverless vehicles have 2 main advantages. Because I'm talking about advantages of driverless vehicles, so I keep it short and simple. Driverless vehicles have 2 main advantages. And finally, we can add a concluding sentence to sum up what we said in this body paragraph. You can write something like this. Such vehicles can greatly benefit society as a whole. Now, for body paragraph 2, we do the same. This time we brainstorm two disadvantages, in this case, unemployment and security risks. Then we brainstorm explanations and support for each of these. For unemployment, we can say that many professional drivers would lose their jobs since driverless vehicles don't require human drivers. This could increase unemployment rates and negatively affect the economy. For security risks, we could explain that these vehicles operate on shared digital networks, making them vulnerable to hacking or hijacking. This could be especially dangerous for high-profile individuals such as celebrities who could be kidnapped by manipulating the vehicle systems. Then we write a topic sentence for this body paragraph based on our main ideas. We could say, nevertheless, there are some disadvantages that need to be considered. And we could also add a concluding sentence, something like this. These disadvantages should be carefully addressed and managed. Now, to sum up, in each body paragraph, we brainstorm main ideas. Then we brainstorm supporting explanations and examples. And then we write a topic sentence that makes it clear what that body paragraph talks about, whether it talks about advantages, disadvantages, view one, positives, negatives, etc., etc. And we could optionally add a short concluding sentence as well, which I recommend for band 8 and 9. And that's our full plan for the essay. This simple structure is what examiners love. And if you follow it right, you're already halfway to band 7, 8, or 9. So don't click away yet, because step 3 is where most people mess up completely. Just a quick note before we cover the last step. Make sure you check out this video where I break down one of the toughest task 2 questions and write a band 9 sample for it. All right, step 3, writing. This is where everything comes together. And if you do it wrong, everything before this goes to waste. Writing has 3 main parts: introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. In your introduction, just paraphrase the question and give your own opinion. No need for fancy background sentences. Keep it clean, keep it sharp. However, the way we write the introduction is not the same for every question. For some questions, like double or mixed ones, where we're asked 2 separate questions, we paraphrase the prompt and write a general sentence covering both questions. I'll explain how to write introduction paragraphs in a separate video. In each body paragraph, start with your topic sentence, then give 2 main ideas and explanation and support for each of them. You can also add a short concluding sentence. It's a mini conclusion that I recommend for band 8 and 9. And finally, your conclusion. Super simple. Summarize what you said and repeat your own opinion. Restate your opinion, and you're done. I'll explain how to write each of these sections in the following videos. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss them. So to recap, first analyze the question with the 5-step framework. Then plan your essay with a clear structure that I gave you. And finally, write using clean, logical paragraphs. Alright, if you made it this far, you've already learned more than most IELTS candidates ever do. Now it's your turn to practice. And don't miss the next videos where I'll break down each section step by step with real Cambridge examples. Also, make sure you check out these playlists to skyrocket your Task 1 and speaking scores. Smash that like button if this helped you, and subscribe so you don't miss the next lessons. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.